this week we will have some other nice things coming online for us. The main thing is probably that Mars is going to station, so it'll slow way down during the next few days and appear to stop in the sky. And when Mars appears to be stopped in the sky, the energy of Mars in Aries becomes more concentrated. And that can result in some passionate displays. So whether that is protests, whether that's, responses to the election in some passionate way, we may see more of that in the days leading up to Mars stationing direct on Friday the 13th. And yes, we have Friday the 13th this month. Mercury is now moving forward. So the things that got sort of hung up and slowed down and misunderstood between October, I would say even late September, those things will start to resolve as we move further into November in some ways. Now, the thing that was really hard last week was that Mercury slowing way down because it was preparing to station direct and squaring Saturn. So last week, that Mercury square Saturn made things feel much more frustrating and much more difficult and much more intractable than they would normally. This week, Mercury starts to creep forward, outside the realm of that Saturn square. So that's good news. That means we could see some more movement in negotiations, more movement in conversations that were difficult, more ease in getting your point across, those kind of things. At the same time, we're dealing with Mars and its own frustrations that are yet to be resolved, okay? Because Mars is still retrograde most of the week and it's very, very slow. So it's not only is it, retrograde, it's slowing down to a complete stop, which in some ways is even worse than the retrograde itself. So this week I would say, patience is still called for because that Mars is still not very effective. It's more frustrated. It's more, and I could say maybe that the frustration can turn to impulsiveness. It can turn into lashing out. It can turn into, particularly around today and tomorrow, because Mars is opposite Venus. All right, so that's the Mars story. What I do want to share with you, though, that I'm very much looking forward to is the Saturday new moon. This next Saturday, the moon is going to be in Scorpio. It's going to be in a nice alignment to that problematic Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So one of the ways we can look at that is a sense of rejuvenating empowerment. One of the ways we can describe that is a healing on a very profound and deep level. New moons are the time to plant seeds. They're the time to start again. And the most regenerative, resilient sign out there is Scorpio. So when we have a new moon in Scorpio, it's a profound opportunity to start again, to try again, to be reborn, right? But this one happens to be sextile that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is, we're not going to have that again anytime soon. And that's a very powerful and very, it can be regenerative, but it has to be regenerative in a way that is sustainable, because the Jupiter-Pluto is in that Capricorn. One of the things, this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction, we've seen this will be the third and final conjunction of 2020 of Jupiter-Pluto, which has really been that defining alignment of the COVID-19 pandemic. if you've been in my workshops, you know that I've been pointing to that. A lot of astrologers are pointing to that as the last third most intense spike of the coronavirus, and we're already seeing that. Definitely science is bearing that out. So I would expect us to see a considerable spike in the next 10 days of that coronavirus, and hopefully that this becomes the last major uncontrollable spike that we see before we get things under control and we get more systems in place to really manage it. And I know that's the hope for all the millions of people that elected Joe Biden. So the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is happening on, just to recap, okay, what we've got going on this week. The first alignment, I would say, the Venus opposite Mars on Monday, you want to tiptoe around any conversations that might be sensitive. And with such a divided country, we could very easily say, hold on a second. We could very easily say, the conversations are about who got elected and who didn't. So you want to, be mindful of that in your relationships. The next big thing is Mercury is going to move back into Scorpio on Tuesday. It's basically moving through territory that it retrograded in. So that means that things that got hung up when Mercury first entered Scorpio early October and then retrograded in Scorpio mid-October, those things are going to come back up for review and maybe for one final resolution. The next thing I want to point out is that the moon is going to move into a cardinal sign. Now, that's important because of the cardinal problems that we have. We have that Mars retrograde in a cardinal sign in Aries, and we have that stellium in Capricorn. So every month when the moon moves into Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, you're going to have that problem come up that you've been dealing with all year because of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction. So we want to look to Wednesday and Thursday as a time where we have patience, where we don't get hung up with, oh my God, the world's going to end again ideas, because that Jupiter Pluto is going to get activated and there could be some exaggeration of Pluto and Capricorn problems, namely the pandemic, but also possibly the economy, also possibly our feelings of corruption being rampant, our feelings of just a lack of control. And I think that speaks pretty strongly to the pandemic. The good news is, these Mars stationing direct and the new moon in Scorpio coming at the end of the week, despite the problems, despite any financial issues, there is an opportunity to start again. There is hope. Okay, so I don't want anyone to go into despair, because I think a lot of us are still in that PTSD mode of the Trump era. Even though we got Joe Biden elected, a lot of us are waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm not going to say there isn't another shoe, but I do feel confident that whatever drops is not going to affect the fact that we are going to have a new paradigm starting in January and starting really in mid-December. So I feel like, maybe there is something else coming, but there is nothing stopping the progress that is definitive in 2021. There is nothing stopping the breakthroughs. There's nothing stopping the fact that we are entering really the future. There's no going back to the way things were. Okay. There's no, the corruption, the rot, the patriarchal systems, the all of those things they're out in daylight now. Those things are not going to be going to infect us anymore. We're basically now in the detox phase, the cleanse and the detox. And that's going to take a while. You know, I think next year, we still have a lot of work to do. The Saturn Pluto in Capricorn era is ending. So this draconian, you know, fascist way of managing the society, that piece of it is over. And as the Saturn Jupiter move into Aquarius, now it's really about the people rising up and the people coming into more power, the people being more involved in creating the new systems and the new paradigms. So I want to ease everyone's mind, if you are still in that PTSD mode, that we're moving ahead. The train has left the station into the future, and there is no going back. Now, I think if you've been in my workshops, you know there are some things coming up in the eclipse cycle. Trump is going to probably continue to try to mess things up on his way out. But again, the universe has spoken. Things are not going back to the way they were, and that's it. You know, so that's kind of like, yes, we will probably hear him making a lot of noise on his way out, and there is still a lot of division in this country. However, the way he was managing, the way the systems that he was trying to corrupt, that piece of it, he's not going to win. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the charts. And, you know, I will say that last week was probably the hardest week for me personally. I don't know if it was the Mercury square Saturn, but it definitely felt like a moment of tension that I've not experienced in I can't remember the last time, a moment of just absolute feel like I'm going to crawl out of my skin. So I hope that all of you are feeling better and that you survived this week with your sanity intact. And let's get into the charts. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about is Aries and Aries rising. And Aries, you do have something to look forward to because that Mars is turning direct. It doesn't actually begin to move forward with any real velocity until the week of the 16th. Okay, so it's going to be still pretty slow this week, and you are still going to be navigating relationship issues. However, you already know what the issue is. It's not like anything's going to rise up and surprise you. It's really you continuing to assert a sense of, you know, I guess control isn't really the right word, but it's more like assert yourself in a more functional way as we move forward, as Mars begins to move forward. So that I think is really good news for the Aries folks. What do I want to say about the new moon in that 8th house for you can be about, you know, regenerative financial situations. It could be that a partner gets some sort of, and I'm just realizing I didn't share my screen for my, there we go. It could be that a partner gets some sort of reboot financially, or gets a financial opportunity. This one really has to do, Aries and Aries rising, with your partner's finances or any finances that you share with a partner. So, you know, because you've had Mercury retrograde in that place, it's probably been pretty rocky for the last month or so. And now we start to see things resolve in a way that feels more sustainable, in a way that gives your partner a better sense of control. So that I think is definitely something to look forward to. what else did I want to say about that? Middle of the week, I guess what I would say about middle of the week, Aries and Aries rising, when the moon moves into Libra on Wednesday, and then it starts squaring off Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Um, do not overreact. If partnership issues suddenly pop up, and issues with either a boss or some authority figure or a parent, your more dominant parent, come up. This is a passing influence. It is not an unresolvable situation. The moon is going to move through this area, and by Friday, it will begin to lift. So really it's Wednesday, Thursday, and very early Friday morning. Yeah, so that's good. So Friday, whatever tension is going on with a partner between now and Thursday, try to have patience with that, even though you may feel very triggered, because it is very short-lived, and it is something that you've been dealing with it all year. It's just another reminder that's situation with a parent, situation with a boss, situation with your sense of authority, being challenged again. So you just want to not be impulsive, allow things to move through, and it'll be cool. All right, I'm going to move on to Taurus and Taurus rising. And if you are new to this live, I do it every Sunday, and then I post it to YouTube with clickable timestamps so that you're able to skip over the signs that you don't want to listen to and go straight to your own sign. So Taurus, this week, you may have been feeling maybe more exhausted than usual because of the Mars retrograde in the 12th house. And that may have been something you've experienced since September 10th. I should remind everybody too, this Mars retrograde has been going on for a long time, since September 10th. So if life has been like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back for you, whatever sign you are, that's about to change. That is definitely about to pick up speed and allow you to have a better, less of an itchy feeling, particularly for Taurus, because that Mars has been in a place that you can't reach. It's in the 12th house. It may have brought up some health issues. It may have brought up some need for retreat. It may have just made you feel really tired and kind of worn out from everything. I mean, that we're all entitled to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. My essential oil thing is like right in my face. So yes, Mars is going to be very slow this week. By the week of the 16th, it will begin to really pick up speed. But the good news is that it's moving in the right direction after we get to Friday the 13th. Venus is going to oppose that spot, Taurus and Taurus rising, on Monday. It's also opposing it right now within a certain degree of orb. So, Monday morning is not the best day to try and push something through. You're more likely, particularly if you're dealing with somebody at work, particularly if that person is a female, you want to just give the situation a little bit of space this week. As the moon on Wednesday starts to square off with all that stuff in the 9th house for you, Wednesday, Thursday, you really want to, and this is a work issue, this is a routine issue. So it could be that you're changing belief systems, you're changing idea of, your theories on life or what you have faith in, that gets triggered at work. So this could come up like, conversations at work about the election need to be avoided. Conversations at, in your routines, your daily routines could be challenged by something that gets in the way of you doing what you need to do. One way to look at this would be a COVID lockdown. I do expect another one. I do expect the things that we're seeing in Europe to start to filter into areas, hot zones in the United States. That could be part of it. Maybe you had plans to travel and that gets stymied midweek. Okay, so then the new moon for you, Taurus, is really about your partner and your partnerships. It does feel like a regenerative moment in a marriage, in a business partnership, in an area that you need to collaborate. Mercury is going to be moving over territory that it was retrograde in, not that, as recently as a couple weeks ago. So anything that came up a couple weeks ago with a partner is going to come back around for resolution now. So maybe you made a commitment that you're now realizing you can't keep, and that has to be resolved this week. So it does suggest with the new moon there, it gets resolved in a very nice way, in a way that helps you feel more stable, and it makes you feel more like you can breathe easy, like there's less tension. I do want to mention that Venus is going to be squaring off with Pluto and Jupiter right around the same time that we have this new moon. Why is that not showing up on my book here? So Venus, yeah, there it is. It's really more exact on Sunday of next week, and that's probably why I didn't notice it today, because I'm just looking ahead for this week. But still, Venus for Taurus is a very important planet. And again, this suggests some sort of challenge or disconnect between what you want to do during the day, or not during the day, but what you want to do with your day, with your routines, and the limitations that are being put on you that you can't control. That just kind of, that's like, again, this could have to do with your health and well-being somehow popping up and requiring you to sit still when you don't want to. Or it could be something like, your favorite restaurant is closed because of the COVID spike, or that your plans to see family or travel are somehow stymied because of things outside your control. Okay, that's Taurus. I'm going to move on because I'm sort of getting a little bit behind here. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, I do this every Sunday live, and I also post it onto my YouTube with clickable timestamps. It also gets posted on Instagram also, but Instagram has been weird lately as to whether it will save my live videos. And I've noticed this is something that other creators are noticing. All right, Gemini and Gemini rising, you are probably feeling a little bit like you're catching up this week as Mercury starts to move direct in that house of work, in that house of health and well-being. You're more able to get your point across. Any technology issues you've had start to resolve. Mercury is still moving pretty slowly, but it's going to catch up pretty quickly, and then swiftly move through Scorpio the rest of this month. Let's see, it doesn't enter a new sign until December 1st. But as it moves through Scorpio this week, it's going to be in a, let's see, kind of an uncomfortable alignment with Chiron as it moves. And this is really later in the week. So we're really looking at Friday, Saturday. This could bring up some sensitivities in your friendships, particularly friends that you work with. This could bring up some, I want to say, insecurities around your goals. Like, is this goal sustainable? And because Mars has been in the same spot for you, Gemini, and Mars is going to be at a complete standstill Friday, Saturday, next weekend might be a little bit of a mixed bag for you, because on the one hand, you have this new thing that you're going to be debuting at work, right, with the Scorpio new moon. And it's really an opportunity to bring some money in through your partnership, through a business. But with your ruling planet, Mercury, in a weird alignment to that really tender Chiron, you could see some insecurities coming up as, is this really going to work? Can I count on my employees? Can I count on the community at large? And is there something going on in my tribe that I'm not aware of? So that's something to just keep in mind. I don't think you need to go into a spiral of self-doubt, because I do know many Geminis tend to overthink things, because at the same time we will have Venus in your fifth house squaring Jupiter Pluto. It does feel like there's a lot at stake creatively for you. It does feel like there is something really huge financially, some creative project you've been investing yourself in that could mean the different, a life-changing difference. So it's a little bit like on pins and needles by the end of the week. And I want to say, keep the faith. And I think that that's because Mercury is going to move beyond that sensitive point very quickly. Mars is going to move direct very quickly. And Mars is in Aries. It's in a planet in a sign that really is helpful to you, Gemini. So it suggests to me that you want to push through some of those senses of, am I a fraud? Some of that fraud complex stuff that comes up. Because the new moon in Scorpio is here to tell you, no, you're definitely not. You are a powerful being. And this idea that you have that is really hard to push through is actually going to be sustainable in the long run. Okay. So the problems are short-term problems. That's what I would say. Okay. Thank you, Rhodey66, for telling me that. I appreciate that validation. Sometimes I'm just speaking into the ethers and I never know if any of this makes sense. I'm going to move through to Cancer and Cancer rising. And if you missed your sign, know that I'm going to post this to YouTube. Forget about trying to catch it on Instagram. It's very hard to figure out whether Instagram is going to post it or not. I just put it on YouTube later today or early tomorrow with clickable timestamps, so you can skip over and go straight to your sign. Okay, Cancer and Cancer rising. This, the big news for you is going to be what the moon is doing, because the moon rules Cancer. The moon is going to be in a beautiful alignment on Saturday for you. It really does suggest that some issues, this problem with a partner, business partner, relationships in general, even romantic relationships, could suddenly, things that have been really problematic could suddenly start to feel like they're resolving in a way that is better than you expected. I will say that. The problem that we've all been dealing with is the Capricorn stellium, right? And for Cancer and Cancer rising, that's been happening in that seventh house. This new moon on Saturday really brings that problem to the forefront and says, it's time to heal. It's time to let go of whatever this has been that has been making you feel less than. I kind of feel like it's a less than feeling. Maybe it has been a situation where there's been some isolation and loneliness. Obviously, we're dealing with that. With the moon, the one caveat I do want to share, in the days before that, Wednesday, Thursday, when the moon squares off with that part, it's almost like a problem comes up Wednesday, Thursday that hits that tender point in relationship for you, Cancer. Reminds you that yes, it's still a problem, but that somehow with the Mercury direct now, you're able to be vulnerable and I want to say forgiving. I think Cancer is a sign that's extremely sensitive and very easily wounded. And the Mars and Chiron in the 10th house have made that a big public thing for you lately. You've been feeling very sort of nakedly vulnerable lately. And I think by the end of this week, you begin to see, okay, yes, I am loved. Yes, I am cared for. Yes, I am okay. I do have sustainable partnerships. I do have people in my life who are going to stick around and be there for me. Venus has been moving through that fourth house, Cancer. So the family system, right, which is so important to Cancer, that family system is, you know, it's challenged in the middle of, you know, as we get to that new moon. It's like you're being challenged to be forgiving in family systems situations. You know, and part of being forgiving does require some vulnerability. I think it's much easier to just stay angry, right? Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I think the Venus square to that later this week, it's like, okay, I have an opportunity. Here's a situation. I recognize this situation. I've been hurt by it in the past. I have let people hurt my feelings in the past. I'm going to make a different choice now. I'm going to decide not to take it personally. And then you will find actually that that feels so good that that's the way you want to move through things forever after this point. The new moon in Scorpio in that area could say, and this could be with a romantic partner, it could be with a child as well, that you've decided not to take something personally that in the past has caused a lot of discord and difficulty with your family. Okay, moving on to Leo and Leo rising. And again, if you're new and you're just joining, I do this every Sunday and I post it to YouTube so that if you don't want to sit through the whole thing and listen to all the signs, you can click to timestamp straight to your sign. Okay, so Leo, this is a new moon. And I'm going to talk about a lot for all of you because there are a few different planets going on doing things this week. However, I do focus on the planet that rules each sign. And for Leo, for Cancer, it's the moon. For Leo, it's the sun. Because this new moon is involving the sun, as every lunation does, this is happening for you in that fourth house. This is important to Leo. This has to do with your family and managing your workload while also managing issues around your family, the way that you, I want to say, take responsibility. You know, what is your responsibility? What is not with the family? What choices need to be made that challenge, I want to say, uncomfortable choices? And we're all going to be facing this during the holidays, right? Whose feelings are we going to hurt because of the coronavirus and our need to not have contact? That's a big one for Leo and Leo rising this week because the new moon is in the fourth house. It's saying there is an opportunity to spend some really beautiful and regenerative and healing time with your family. However, as we move through the week before that, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to be confronted with, you know, that pandemic thing is still going on. And you might want to tweak your plans a little bit because this Mercury in the fourth house, okay, Mercury rules travel, it rules decisions. It's in the house of family for Leo, and it's in an uncomfortable alignment with a planet Chiron that's in the travel house, the ninth house. So you're like, should I go? Should I stay? If I go, how do I manage this? So yeah, it's a little bit of problem solving, but I do think that you figure it out, Leo. And by the end of the weekend, you have, you know, found a way to spend some good time with family. You know, I think a real big part of this Leo and Leo rising and Leo really want to show up and be that source of light, right? For whoever it is. And if they can't show up and be that source of light, then they just want to not show up at all. Then they just would rather squirrel away until they can show up with all the bells and whistles. I think this week, Leo, you really have to balance out or problem solve around this area of, can I show up in my authenticity? Can I be that light for my community? Can I be that light for my family and also take care of myself and also manage my own safety, my own well-being? Can I be in this situation with authenticity, with integrity? Can I do this in a way that doesn't compromise my values, my beliefs? So that's, that's Venus squaring off with this from the third house, which is all about siblings. It's all about communicating. And then you've got all this stuff happening in the family house. It's really about, how can I make my routines and my schedule and my wellness, how can I value that and have integrity around that, but also satisfy my family. And I'm not going to say it's not easy, but there is a solution there that I do feel like by the end of the weekend, you figure it out. Okay. Moving on to Virgo and Virgo rising. I don't know if I'm on schedule. I can't remember what time I'm usually at this point, but if you missed your sign, if you don't want to sit through the whole thing later, you can click, I'm going to post this to YouTube. You can click the timestamps, go straight to your sign. Virgo, this is like Gemini, a week about Mercury moving forward and about, this new moon is in the third house, which happens to be the Mercury house. So this is very much a week where you're looking at speaking up, speaking in a way that is meaningful and is heard. The problem, the Capricorn problem that we've all been dealing with all year for you may have to do with a child, or it may have to do with a creative project or a romantic partner. These are the three big ones for the fifth house. And for you, that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is happening there. Something is culminating with a child, with a romantic partner, or with a creative project that's reaching this extremely big moment of reckoning. And the new moon sort of hastens that reckoning along. Now, I think it's a positive development. I think whatever the problem that you've been dealing with suddenly reaches a healing point. This could also have to do with a sibling, because the new moon is happening in the third house, but it's definitely going to require your voice, and it's definitely going to require integrity. Let's say about that. Mercury moving into Scorpio for you is resolving that problem, a communication problem that came up in October, in mid-October, and being able to speak your truth. What else do I want to say about? I mean, there's something going on financially as well, and I want to say that it's related to a joint financial issue. That Mars stationing in the eighth house, that's a financial issue that your partner, you and your partner share, right? So it could be, Virgo, that you are on the cusp of resolving a kind of scary financial issue that came up between September and November 13th, which is Friday. So that's helpful. Maybe you get a big deposit in your account that you've been waiting for, and this would be money that you yourself did not earn, but was maybe a tax return, maybe some support, maybe a loan comes through. These are all possibilities. At the same time, you're dealing with this new moon in a beautiful alignment with Jupiter-Pluto. So it does feel like maybe the money that comes in helps you resolve that Jupiter-Pluto problem. Maybe maybe that's what's been holding up this resolution, this creative problem, this child problem, this romantic problem. You needed a loan, you needed some money, you needed some support financially, and it comes through. But maybe it takes a few days after that Friday the 13th direct motion of Mars to start to really, for you to really be able to feel it. You do have Venus in that second house, and that's very helpful for any financial issues of your own. If you are, in a place, your own earning power is at is definitely something you're thinking about around this new moon and working very hard on. So you may be really challenged. It's like you've been working on this creative project all year long. Venus and the moon are squaring off with that midweek. So you are really challenged to push through and get it done. Maybe you're trying to meet a deadline, a creative deadline. And the good news is you get it done. And it's a lot more successful than you expected. If we're talking about a child problem, again, something you've been dealing with all year that had presented itself in January, in April and July. This is the third major hit of this problem. So you're reaching the resolution to this problem. It's coming. Keep the faith. It's coming. And I know a lot of Virgo clients that will be good news for. Okay, I'm moving on to Libra and Libra rising. And Libra is one of those signs that has had a bit of a tough time this year. Let's talk about Venus, because Venus is your ruling planet. It has moved, it's been in your first house since right around Halloween, October 28th. So you have had Venus in its home sign in the first house. It does feel like things have been tentatively going better than they were. Now, when the moon moves into Libra on Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to square off with all that Capricorn in the fourth house. So don't be surprised if some sort of issue pops up about family that requires you to assert yourself. Libra rising and Libras, asserting yourself, not your favorite thing. You're conflict averse. Venus opposing Mars today and tomorrow. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to just face the music in a partnership issue, and then after that in a family issue. Now, I say that, and things are getting better. Mars is moving direct in the partnership sector. A problem with a partner is beginning to unwind and resolve now. The new moon in the second house suggests that you get some sort of financial opportunity, some sort of earning opportunity, and that builds your confidence. This opportunity is going to feel very sustainable long term. It's going to be sextile that Jupiter-Pluto. So it's a big chunk of money, maybe. It could be. Jupiter-Pluto conjunct in the fourth house is powerful and potent and extreme. Okay, so that's another word that I haven't used around this new moon, but is very much a part of the Scorpio vibe. Extreme. Extreme can mean extreme and great. Extreme can also mean intense. Because it's in a sextile alignment, it's not as intense as it could be. But it does involve Jupiter exaggerating Pluto and Capricorn. So this is about systemic problems that get an opportunity for resolution on a grand scale. And Libra, this is happening in the fourth house of family. Could be about where you physically live too. Maybe something happening, a problem resolving with a partner. And in addition to that, money coming in your income, resolve some decision that you had to make about where you physically live. That's one way that could unfold. I would say that, the caveat about this is it first looks worse than it is when you get that moon, Venus squaring off with Jupiter, Pluto, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a panic. There's a moment of, oh God, here we go again. But very quickly you're like, no, this is not as bad as I thought. This is actually going to turn out to be a good thing. So let's leave it with that, Libra. I think that's enough for now. And I also think that's good news. I do think this is a good news new moon for all of us. Okay, moving on to Scorpio and Scorpio rising. And this is going to be, you know, a new moon in that first house for you, Scorpio. And Scorpio risings have really had a tough go of it particularly the last 3 weeks. But even as far back as, I want to say, August, definitely September. Because the ruler of Scorpio, the ancient ruler, is Mars. And Mars has been retrograde since September 10th. So you're going to start to see things really ease up, Scorpio. You know, it's going to be a little slow coming, but things get gradually better the closer we get to December, the further we get into November. Now, November is not a great month. There's just a lot of things that we have to work through, problems. You know, mainly, here's what I have predicted in my webinars. COVID has continued to spike. It's going to affect the economy. And we're going to have to figure a way out of all of this. But the good news is we will figure it out. Okay, Scorpio, the new moon is like, okay, I can finally regenerate in the way that I want to, in the way that feels authentic to me. I can finally be the person I want to be. No more conflicts between what other people want and how I see myself and how I feel like I need to be. No more conflicts with a work situation that feels completely stuck. That starts to move forward. You've been in between a rock and a hard place, Scorpio, for several weeks now. That begins to resolve. With this new moon, it really helps you see the forest for the trees, and it also helps you feel more effective in your own communication process. It feels like, okay, I'm being heard finally. And I actually know what I want. I mean, that's been a big problem all year, is thinking really hard and just being stuck in a quagmire, feeling like, I'm glad this is resonating, Mariko, feeling like I can't figure out this problem. I can't find the resolution. I'm just stuck in the problem. And now this new moon really feels like, okay, here it is. Here's the solution. Here are the tools that you need. Here's what you need to say to get out of this. Here's how it will resolve. Here's how this whole problem ends. It's like a big happy ending. That's what I want to say. Not necessarily a sexual kind, but it is a release. It is a release. And I hate to get like, so whatever here, innuendo, but it is a moment of release. That's what it feels like. This potency of Jupiter, Pluto in a nice alignment with that new moon is like the letdown of just epic tension, epic self-doubt even. So that's something that you can look forward to. I'm looking at the clock and I am definitely going to have to go over today. So if we don't get to your sign on the live, I will probably bump it over to a new live, but I'll be recording this on for my YouTube channel. So let's move on to Sag and Sag rising. Sag, this new moon is asking you to take a minute to calm down, take a break from the drama, from this aching sense of self-doubt that has plagued you all year. Take a moment and just say, you know what? I'm going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay, but I need to sit for a minute and just breathe. One of the ways that Sag can run themselves ragged is distracting themselves from a problem until that problem is so huge, there's no way around it. And then they just, I don't know, they just kind of blow up, because Sag is a fire sign, remember, and they do have a lot of restless energy that can get the better of them if they're not careful. So I think for Sag, I happen to have a Sagittarius daughter, if she's listening. Sag, I think it's a good time to just sit and wait this one out. Allow people to support you. Allow people to give you some support and help. This new moon is in the 12th house. It's okay to not have a plan right now. The plan is becoming clearer and clearer. And that Jupiter conjunct Pluto for you is this burst of resilience, this burst of confidence, but it's only going to come if you can be quiet enough to let it settle in on you, right? Running yourself ragged is only going to get you whipped up into a frenzy of anxiety and self-doubt. So I would use this week to get still, try to stay, use this new moon to be in a meditative space and allow, I kind of want the wisdom of the universe to channel through you and to heal that self-doubt that you've been dealing with all year, to let you know that there's light at the end of this tunnel and that you are going to be joyful again. You know, I think of Sagittarius as sort of like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. And, you know, Tigger's bouncy and bouncy until he just completely collapses, you know, and cries it out. And maybe this is a moment, Sag, where it's about cleansing tears in the 12th house. It's about letting go of the sorrow, of the PTSD of this year, allowing yourself to believe in something again, allowing yourself to have faith in yourself again. Okay, that sounds good. I'm going to move on to Capricorn and Capricorn rising. And these folks, wow, let's talk about what this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to do for you, Capricorn. This is a potent moment. It's a powerful moment of self-assertion, of showing up in all your integrity, all your strength, all your character, being able to hit the reset button on where you belong, okay? Where it is that you feel you, like, it's, the new moon's happening in the house of friendship, okay? It's happening in the house of where I belong. It's happening in the house of what do I want to accomplish? What goal is sustainable for me? And can I keep this up? You know, Capricorn and Capricorn rising, you have been really like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill only to have it roll back down over and over again this year. And this is a moment where you actually reach the top of the mountain and you realize, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I think this is too hard and I don't think I need to prove myself by doing this thing that is just absolutely superhuman. I think I can take a minute and say, I'm ready to have a new goal here. I'm ready to do something that's much more reasonable, much more human, much more sustainable. And this may come to you as somewhat of, and not an epiphany per se, but as a grand recognition of your own power, of your own strength. It's almost like you look back on the mountain that you've climbed and you're like, damn, I actually have gotten somewhere. And this is enough. This is more than enough. I think I can be satisfied with this achievement and stop beating myself up that it needs to be more. So I think that with this is in some ways Capricorn and Capricorn rising, you know, this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in the first house is about self-acceptance. It's about allowing yourself the luxury of feeling your own power. You know, Capricorn, Capricorn rising generally are all about supporting other people. And not that this isn't an opportunity to be some sort of pillar of integrity in your tribe, okay? But this is also about you recognizing that you're a pillar of integrity in your tribe. You recognizing how much you matter in your own community, how much strength you have, how much resilience you have, how much character you have. All right, I'm going to have to move on to Aquarius and Aquarius rising. I'm going to try to get to Pisces, but I may have to move to a new live to do that. And we're going to do Aquarius and Aquarius rising. And this new moon is lighting up your area of accomplishment. So Aquarius, this may be a moment where you're ready to really shine out, ready to plant these seeds of achievement in something that you're ready to put out into the world. The new moon in the 10th house, the new moon in the 10th house of career and reputation and achievement is really shining this, it's really regenerating something that you've probably been working on all year behind the scenes. It's really offering a moment of opportunity to share that thing you've been working on behind the scenes all year. And it's a real moment of, achievement. It's like the thing that you are preparing to launch is going to be far more lucrative than you even know. That sounds good. And it does feel like it's not quite ready to be put out there, but you figured it out so that you'll be launching it in December. You figured out the pieces, you figured out the pricing, you figured out what it needs to look like. And now as we move into mid-December, then you really put it out there. But this new moon is saying, yes, this thing that you've been putting together, it is going to be sustainable and it is going to be lucrative. Now it's also going to require a lot of work, but I think you're there for it. This Mars-Mercury stationing, Mercury is moving forward. So again, the things that you've been working on since mid-October, the kind of marketing, the communication, the conversation you've been having with a boss, the conversation you've been having with a parent, those problems, issues are starting to resolve themselves now. The Mars in the 3rd house is really about moving places, moving around. Maybe you're going to be on the road a lot more in the next couple of months than you think. I do think that Mars being in the 3rd house and station this week, be careful on the roads, be careful, wear your seatbelt, do not rush. It does feel like there are a lot of demands on your day-to-day and have been for weeks since, June. You do want to pace yourself. That's the thing I want to say, pace yourself. Okay, I'm going to quickly go to Pisces and see if I can wrap this up and give everybody their due. If I get cut off, I'm just going to keep talking on my YouTube so that Pisces gets their 3 minutes, and you all can find this later today or early tomorrow and click to the timestamps. I'm going to, if you missed your sign, you'll be able to go straight to it on my YouTube channel. Okay, Pisces and Pisces rising, we're talking about Jupiter conjunct Pluto. Jupiter's your ruling sign. This is the 3rd and final time we have this conjunction in the house of goals, in the house of alliances, in the house of friendships. The new moon is in a beautiful alignment with the Pisces decan. So this is a really regenerative moment for you, Pisces, and your friendships, your alliances. It suggests that you have friends in high places who are ready to really support your new belief system, your new paradigm, your new esoteric practice, your new self-study, whatever it is that you've been working on through this Mercury retrograde in the 9th house anyway, that involves higher education, a certification process. This is almost about restarting a new way of seeing the world that broadens your horizons, that broadens your friendships, your networks, It really brings important and influential people into your life who can support you. The Mars and Venus opposition, this is about finances. Hey, Ashley, I'm just finishing up with Pisces. This is about finance. It's about your shared resources with a partner. And there may be some conflict there or something that needs to be worked out with a partner on how much you earn versus how much a partner is bringing in and how that needs to be balanced out. That's something that may be more a focus in the beginning of the week, that probably gets resolved pretty quickly as we move into the middle of the week. Now, with the moon squaring from the 8th house into that 11th house, this is that problem, okay, around an alliance, the problem around a goal, the problem around your tribe and where you belong that you've been dealing with all year long. The moon kicks into a square with that aspect, that stellium Wednesday, Thursday. You're dealing with maybe money owed to you, maybe a problem of intimacy with that. Do I really fit? Is the puzzle piece going to fit in this community? Am I a square peg in a round hole? Or, as it looks like, do I really belong? And yes, I would say by the end of the week, you figure out, actually, this is going to work. Actually, this alliance I have made is going to work for me. This new goal I've set for myself is sustainable. This new way of being is going to, bring me the influence. This is a big influential aspect, Jupiter, Pluto in the 11th house. It's like you had to cut out a whole group of people, Pisces. You had to dislodge yourself from one tribe and find a more high integrity tribe. And this last hit of Jupiter, Pluto in that place is saying, this is going to, this new tribe that you found, this ability to pivot and find the more sustainable, find the more high integrity, the more, deeply, I'm trying to think of the word, Capricorn word that goes with this alignment. You had to let go of something to find out where you really belonged, Pisces. And this new moon is going to remind you of that and sort of heal the trauma or heal the fear and the loneliness that came with that. So I would say use this new moon, Pisces, to be in your mystical practices. I actually think this is a good moon, a good lunation to do some charging of your crystals for the right purposes, because it's so regenerative. It has so much potential and power in it to be born again, to forgive and move on with wisdom. It's not like you're going to forget, but you are going to forgive and heal. Pisces has had Neptune in that first house for the entire year, for many years at this point, but it's in a close alignment during this new moon, where it brings in this healing capacity, Pisces, that you have innately, but it brings that to the forefront. So you could find yourself being elevated as a spiritual teacher around this new moon. You could find that you have opportunities to share some spiritual wisdom around this new moon. That this new tribe that you've discovered come to you for that wisdom and teaching. So I think that's about the time I have. I'm about to, it looks like, yeah, I'm still going here, but I know I'm close to running out of time. I am taking on one-off consultations. I did put a booking link on my profile if you're interested in a session with me in November. And I'm going to be announcing a new offering very soon. Haven't decided exactly when. I'm still picking out the date to announce it, but it's going to be great. And I think a lot of you are going to find it very supportive as we move into 2021. I hope you all have a great week and really enjoy this new moon. Take things as they come. Continue to pace yourself this week, and take care. I'll talk to you next week.